Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
Okay, so good evening, and welcome to the Bellows Falls Village Trustees regular meeting. It's Tuesday, October 27, 2020, 6 p.m. We are now down here in the lower theater. There is a Zoom address on the website if you hear that and you need one, but obviously you can't. Call the meeting to order, and we will not be approving the minutes of October 13th. They were not provided to us. However, they are available on the website. We will have them to approve next meeting. Understand? Okay. All right, so moving on to additions to the agenda for routine administrative matters and/or pressing matters that will require ratification at a future meeting. Are there any? Mr. Manager? Okay, Shannon isn't saying anything, so I guess she's good too?
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm all set, thank you.
thank you.
I think we should have a short
Executive session
executive session.
for matters of contract, right?
Yes.
All right, so there will be an executive session at the end of the meeting. All right, other than that, public comment on items not on the agenda. 3 minutes per person. I don't hear anything. Mr. Mitchell, you trying to talk? You need to unmute yourself.
Yes, it'd be the first time I've ever unmuted myself. I want to thank our fire departments. They were all called to action today on Parker Hill. They all came home safe. Rockingham, Saxon River, Bellows Falls, they were all there. Second thing is there trick-or-treating this Halloween in Bellows Falls?
Yes, it's on the Bellows Falls Fire Department and the Bellows Falls Police Department webpage and on the website.
Okay,
Instructions on how to have a safe Halloween. Yes.
Okay, what safety precautions are in place for all to keep the kids away from all the registered sex offenders houses in Bellows Falls? Has that been addressed by the police department?
I wouldn't know that. The CDC doesn't give us any instructions on that.
Well, we had local instructions on that for quite a while that were in place, but of course, like everything else in the last 14 years of the police department, we had problems. So anyway, we'll hope that the new manager addresses that.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Anyone else? Thank you. Anyone else? Doesn't look like it. Okay. Moving on to the manager's report.
Few items here. First of all, we got some good news with our water system. We did our PFAS testing and we came back without any levels that required any action, which is good news. Everybody knows that's a problem in a lot of drinking water systems and can create a lot of additional expense. So we're very pleased with that. So we don't have to go through, an extensive program for that. As a reminder, and the police department will be working with local residents, and I'll hold this thing up so you might see one of these on your car if you're parked on the street after the 1st of November. We are in snow parking ban season, and it sometimes takes a little bit for folks to remember. So we'll work with folks in the beginning of November, but after that, we'll start to get more aggressive with enforcement so we can make sure that streets are clean when, eventually we do get snow. And finally, we may or may not have a parade on Saturday. We got a permit requested from the high school. If the cross-country team is successful and comes back as a state champion, they've asked to do a brief parade Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock. So the police chief is aware, fire department's aware, and again, depending upon how they do, we may or may not just have a brief around the square and then before trick-or-treating on Saturday.
And that's it?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. All right, then moving on to the agenda, we start off with the financial analysis of the sludge removal for the RMI project. We have been provided with some materials from Shannon Kabila from the finance department. Open for discussion to the trustees. moving forward. Anyone? Also, I think, Robbie, you had some visits with the people who are under operation right now?
Yeah, we went and visited, all the operators went over to Hooksett.
I have to ask you to use the microphone, though. Sorry about that. I'd love to hear what you have to say.
No, it's fine. Yeah, last week we went over to Hooksett and saw the dryer in operation. All the operators went over, two in one day, two the next day. They were obviously their cake is a little different than ours. It's primary sludge versus anaerobic digested sludge, but machine was working like it was supposed to. As far as looked good to me, coming out nice and dry. And then we also went down and looked at the Brattleboro one the day before. Just wanted to see what that one looked at. Opened up the stuff, opened everything up and looked at. It wasn't running obviously, but just to see what the condition of it was, and it looked in really good condition. Took some pictures of that one. So, and then Shannon, I believe, has some pictures of what I had taken. I don't know if she has them
Shannon, do you have those pictures that Rob took?
of some of the stuff that they talked about as far as the weekly maintenance that we have to do with the filters and stuff.
I'm sharing my screen. Can you see it?
Yes, I can see a spreadsheet.
Oh, you can't see a picture?
No, ma'am. There we go.
There we go.
Okay.
So that's one of the bigger.
Oh, sorry.
The bigger that's one of the bigger filters that gets rinsed off. Which I believe the next picture she'll have is you can see where that one, that's actually the blower
Okay.
that blows the air up through. You can see on top of that that's the belt that the dry sludge comes around on. And now you can see some more pictures on the bottom.
Sorry, it's making me change it every time I share a picture.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's the belt itself.
On the bottom is where the dried sludge
Sludge.
is coming off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
It's
it starts
cut,
with
yeah.
the slitter at the other end.
Right.
Yep. And
Yeah.
then it comes out.
I do have a picture of where it comes down from this, where it comes down as the noodles. I don't know if you can see it. So that's a picture where the blue thing you see was the first one that was taken out, and then the bags are on each side. There's a bag there that I took out so you could get a picture. Those are the bags that got to be cleaned and dusted out weekly. And talking to the guys in Brattleboro, there really wasn't a lot of stuff that gets collected in there. It's really minute dust. As far as those type of bags is getting cleaned out. So I don't know what she has for the next picture.
You have some more.
I think there's one more picture for
Okay.
the coming down, the sludge coming through the making of the noodles. It's just going to be hard to see. That's the problem.
That's what we tried to capture in that video.
Yes.
To give you a better sense,
So-
because it is so hard to take these
Yeah.
still pictures. And
Yeah.
get a sense for it.
No.
I'm interested, Rob, in what the operators, what they thought of this technology.
The ones in Brattleboro that we talked to were definitely impressed with what it was doing. It just wasn't big enough for them as far as what they put, tried to get it to put out. Hooksett was set up that they press, and once they turn it on Monday, it runs till Saturday morning, mid morning to noon time.
So they are very happy with it, and it's producing a nice dry pelletized product at the end of at the end. So
Now, our understanding is that the Brattleboro decision is they're waiting for a new machine to come in? Is that
So Brattleboro can't operate with this size machine. It's too small.
right?
And in part, they're challenged because their dewatering system, they have Fournier presses, does not speak well to this dryer versus the PW press that you have here does speak well to the dryer. So that's sort of been part of their decision making. The other thing is we had only set that up as a pilot. And so when it became clear that they would need a bigger machine, we decided we would go on to the next phase, and they wanted their garage bay back for use with their regular trucks. And we handle their biosolids anyways. So it really was a matter of, instead of going off their press and into our truck, we had it come off their press, go through our dryer, and then into our truck. So now we're going to remove that dryer and just go back to the truck until they can get funding to actually build a new building for a bigger unit altogether.
That'll be done, right.
Now, given our current level of sludge production, how much would this machine run here in Bellows Falls?
So we're currently expecting that it'll run during business operating hours that you're staffed. It could technically run 24 hours, but to start, we're just going to do it based on when your team is already in the building and working.
And that will be adequate to handle our volume?
I believe so. That's the whole pilot, the trying of this. I believe we've got our volume down now, so that I think we're ahead of the game as far as the sludge volume. So that's where I want to be when we started the pilot, was to be ahead of the game, not behind the game with the sludge, so that we can run it and play with the machine, get it going, get it up and running, and then see if we can add it. Because like I said, these machines speak together. So if the dryer is, say, overwhelmed or loaded up, it can shut off the press. And then when it's, okay, I need some, it turns the press back on. So it can do that. As long as we have the certain digester that we have set up, it can do that. And it can stay running, doing that back and forth. So as long as they keep talking back and forth, and it comes on and off and on and off, and it runs through it should work. And I mean, but that's down the road. I don't want to start out like that. I want to run it to the time that we're going to be there, so that we don't have any problems. I don't want to do it when we're not there. I want to make sure that it's a trial by error thing. I don't like to do stuff when
And that's
auto's on board.
right. And so that's really where we had the two models. Brattleboro only did it during staff times. Hooksett does it 24/5, and they run it from their phone, at home. So they can see what's happening if they need to make an adjustment. There's an alarm system. There's various alarm systems built in. And so it notifies. But at this point, it is sized to handle the capacity and throughput based on your current staffing and comfort level. I hope to report to you next June that, we're doing a few overnighters and it works great.
Right. Exactly.
Well, the thing of it is that, the financial analysis is very favorable to RMI. And there's no labor component whatsoever here, which of course assumes that running it during the day, what your hours are, what, 7 to 3 or
6 to 2:30.
6 to 2:30,
Yep.
that you can run it 5 days a week, 6 to 2:30, and handle all of our stuff.
That's the plan.
And that's the assurance that RMI is giving you in terms of our volume.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. All right. Good.
Yep.
Because that's a huge assumption. And certainly there couldn't be any requirement for alarms after hours, because then that of course would have a labor cost involved
Yep.
in that. So
Okay.
Do you feel that this is a equal trade of labor? Are we saving labor because of the machine? What is it replacing from a manpower standpoint?
I mean, right now with the dumpster, we have to shovel the
Right.
sludge.
Yeah, Jeff, take the mic with you if you're going to turn your head So they can't.
Go ahead and
have anything here.
ask your question again.
I was just asking about whether the machine will be replacing labor.
Okay, so right now we have the 30-yard roll off, so we're pressing sludge so that we gotta line the roll off with plastic. Then we set the roll off, we press it in a while, then we gotta rake that around. We gotta move the roll off, so we gotta pick up, we gotta pull it forward. So there's maintenance to that. With this drying stuff, we're gonna have to, it's gonna run through the dryer, but then we're gonna load the super sacks up. So eventually we're gonna have to switch those around. So I mean, it's gonna be about the same. I'm thinking in my head, it's gonna be about the same amount of time that we spent with the dumpster is what we're gonna spend with what we have now. But like I said, in the trial, that's where we're gonna figure out what we're gonna end up doing.
But also, one of the things that sort of jumped out to me when Rob and I were talking about, and we've been talking about this for 2 years, so we've been thinking about all the different angles. And one of the challenges is going to the landfill means you're on their schedule. So it's not when you're dewatering and you're ready. It's kind of like, sorry, we can't take you today because we have other materials coming in. So this now frees up Rob and his team to dewater when it makes sense for their work, and they're not then beholden to a pickup schedule and a landfill outlet at all. It will really be, that's probably the most freeing.
No, that's right. Because right now, I mean, typically our dumpster, the schedule we're kind of on is a Wednesday pickup. We can't do a Monday, we can't do a Friday because the company that hauls it, they're picking up recyclable stuff. Are dropping it off because of weekend people are doing their recycling. So that those 2 days are pretty much booked. I've done Tuesdays and Thursdays, and that really doesn't work. Seems to be the Wednesday schedule seems to be good, and sometimes it's we get the Wednesday schedule, and I've had to call it and go, are they coming today or not? Because the guy's not here, and it's like, yeah, not going to happen today because it's just not going to happen. So, I mean, we finished pressing last Thursday afternoon or Friday, and now our pickup is tomorrow morning. So
A week later, yeah.
yeah, but I'm saying we're also in good shape sludge-wise because we've been pressing right along, trying to anticipate this project.
So I have a question. If we're turning this into a product that's 90% solid, we won't be getting to having pickups by Casella, right? You guys will be taking the product. So during the course of the pilot program, we wouldn't have any we wouldn't have any hauling just through Casella, right? Is that correct?
That's correct.
So we'll save those costs during that period of time.
Yeah, the only cost that we have in our contract, because I don't want to get rid of that contract because it's still good until September, is we have a roll-off monthly charge for the containers.
How much is that?
I believe it's like $325 a month.
A month,
Yes.
which we continue to pay to.
You continue to pay that.
Reserve
until-
it, right?
Yes, until it was part of the contract when we signed it, but I believe that's the monthly cost.
And that's accurate, and that's also in the financial analysis under the sludge removal.
Thank you.
On that sludge removal, it looked to me that with the machine, sludge removal is about 10% of the cost of the current sludge removal. Are you saying the material gets reduced by 90% going through that machine?
I can speak to that a little bit for you. So basically, when I was asked about, what would be the worst case scenario for sludge removal costs with the dried product working with RMI? And I had said, well, this number that you have that reaches up to $70,000 a year, that's just not even necessary, because I believe that by the time we get done our trial with you, that we will have identified a couple of local users who would like to have this product. And so we would then be available to be retained to just do your compliance, record keeping, monitoring, all of the pieces that are required by the regulatory agency that we do all day long. When we do PFAS testing or looking at dioxin or other things, those are things that Rob and his team shouldn't have to go to figure all this out now, whether it's dry or wet. You kind of hire someone to do that. So I said, you know, $6,000 a year would be a reasonable compliance component if you wanted to hire us to do that. However, I think that, you know, that's up to you, Rob, how comfortable you feel about being the compliance person on a team, because you could put it to zero and say, well, we're going to take it all on ourselves, but you could have a place saver there that says, you know, let's just have a third-party independent group do our oversight and monitoring. So that's what that number reflects. But
So it's actually zero cost of removal.
Correct,
It's compliance.
correct.
Right.
And
Yep,
I guess you're saying that if the local farmers don't eat it, you will.
I'm saying that the local farmers will consume this very quickly. I just was speaking with my salesperson on the way over, and she said, well, I've got some people lined up. Have you got that Bellows Fall stuff for this, you know, season? Because they want to put it down before the snow flies. And I said, no, I'll talk to you
And
tomorrow.
they just come and pick up these bags, these big bags?
So yeah, you can put them in the back of a pickup truck.
Okay, good.
Yep.
All right.
But that has to meet the general distribution rules, which is why we're doing this. Because you can only do this if you have a Class A biosolids product. The way you get to Class A, because you're currently what's called a Class B, the way you get to A is to dry it to 90% solids. So that's the ticket here, is once it's at Class A and we get it certified and approved, and you keep on running that thing and hit all the markers that it spits out at you, you can give it away to anybody, anywhere, and everyone wins.
Yeah, when I did, oh, sorry, Sheila. When I did the financial analysis, what I did was the most expensive cost we'd have on our end from the municipality, and then assuming the least expensive increase on the other end, which Scott can speak a little bit to as far as where we think Casella might go. So this financial analysis is actually the worst case scenario for us as a municipality.
Remember, our current Casella hauling agreement is a 3-year deal, so it'll end, the first 3-year term ends in September of 21. Then you have the option to extend an additional year. He has a CPI clause and also a transportation clause if fuel prices increase, that could potentially increase your price. Our concern is after that, obviously, he runs basically an integrated monopoly, right? He picks it up. He owns the landfill, he sets the disposal prices. So you can imagine what that's going to do to our pricing in 2022. I would not imagine that it will be a significant increase at that point, and probably going forward increases as well to continue hauling up to his facility. So that's our concern. I think this window gives us a chance within the existing contract. If it's successful, which we, you know, we're both very optimistic that it looks like it could be, that'll save us going forward, I think, from a substantial amount of increases for disposal costs.
Yeah, if I may, Shannon put in, which I thought was very wise, at the end of your spreadsheet. I don't know if you have those in front of you, but the 2 columns there, one looks at your current pricing with only a 2% annual increase, and the other one is a 5%. And obviously the savings is even greater with the 5%. And I would agree that 5% may be too low as well, altogether.
Okay, in the contract, it's the trial contract here.
Yep.
There's a few sections, like on page 5. I'm sorry, page 2 of 6. Ancillary equipment and installation. Okay, it mentions, you know, a number of items here, and the assumption from looking at the analysis is that we have all that stuff, Rob, that there's not going to be any cost to us for electrical things, pumps, wiring, interconnecting piping, wet sludge cake conveying, equipment, et cetera. There's no cost for that. Is that it?
No, there's going to be, we have to get electricity. We have to get electricity from our electrical room to the dryer bed. So there's going to be some cost So I've got Lawrence and Lover working on that now. I had him there last week, the end of last week, and I don't have that number because I haven't got it from him yet. But there's definitely gonna be a cost to get that.
Would you get that for us? Would you give us an estimate of,
Yeah,
so,
as soon as I get the estimate, it's definitely gonna be passed through Scott.
so the only cost then is the electrical hookup? You got everything else,
We have to get three-phase power to the machine,
Okay.
right?
and that's part of what we're waiting on, the final cost for that. But it should not be substantial. It won't change the analysis in any dramatic way.
Actually, we included that in the analysis. If you look at the, I don't know what pieces of paper you have anymore, but we made an allowance for up to $15,000.
Oh, 30,000 at 50%.
Correct.
Off of that.
So
So
we
15,000.
anticipate the worst case scenario to install and get everything going would be $30,000. Of that, we would credit up to 15%, because we actually think it'll be less than that, and we will credit the 15%. And that's how we got at that reduced cost for the overall project. So we, honestly, it's hard to say because the guy who did our work, he said, well, I could do it, but he wanted to work through, we wanted to work through the guys that you normally work with. And so just waiting on feedback from them. But honestly, I do not think it'll be more than 10,000, but we did make an allowance up to 15 is all it would cost Bellows Falls. And that is included in our total overall price.
Other questions? Did you have something, Wade?
Yeah, just to follow up on that, didn't you, you already have the conduit that goes in there, right?
No, I thought we did, but then talking to Lawrence and Lover, it's not big enough.
Oh, it's not?
No,
Okay.
Oh.
it had to be 2.5 inches, and we only had an inch.
Oh.
My other question is just to go back, and you may have mentioned this the last time you were here, but I'm just curious, how big are them bags, the sacks that it's stored in?
1 ton?
So they're called super sacks, and in the industry, they're called 1 ton, but these will only carry about 600, 700 pounds per yard because this material is not as dense as a commercial fertilizer that does fit a ton. So it's called a 1 ton super sack, but it won't carry 1 ton of your product. It'll
Right.
carry more like 700 pounds.
So when it's filled, when it's done, it's
Yeah.
about 700 pounds?
Yep.
Okay, that's what I was
Yep.
curious about. Thanks.
Anything else? Okay. Does anyone want to entertain a motion on this project? I still don't hear anything. What do we need to resolve in order to get to yes? I don't hear anything on that either. So gentlemen, what is unfilled for satisfaction on this project? It's clearly a good idea for the environment. It's a good idea for the future. It will save us considerable sums down the road, considering the hauling of wet sludge that we're currently doing. So what do we need to do to move this forward?
I'll make a motion
Go ahead.
to accept the contract, or I don't know how you want to term it, a trial contract from RMI.
And
the
for
Bellows Falls
manager to
way.
sign it? That's. we would go-
Yeah, and for the village manager, municipal manager to execute it.
Do we have a second on that for discussion even? Okay, so discussion.
What are we looking at? We talked about a lot of time, we mentioned it here. We have an estimated cost of the electricity system in state to operate this. How does that factor into?
Hold on. I want to share these pages. You got that 2% electricity on the spreadsheet you gave us? Projection, 5,000.
That's again, those are projections, and I think that Rob's already discussed that he might be drying it in a shorter window. So we took the maximum amount of electrical that we could possibly entertain, meaning, a full 8 hours of operation during normal business hours. I don't think that we'll reach those numbers, and then we added obviously some cost increase to that as well. So we were trying to be conservative on the estimates to make sure that we weren't presenting you guys numbers that were, underestimated. So that's where those numbers came from.
The other aspect to that is that we have solar that reduces our electric costs, and I did not put that into my financial analysis, again, trying to be as conservative as we can. The other thing that I didn't enter into our financial analysis was our potential revenue. I know it's not a lot, but it's also not in here. So tried to be as conservative as I could from our perspective.
Okay, further discussion. Jigs, why are you not
Well,
moving forward?
I'm enthusiastic about doing something about the current situation. I feel that that this is new technology. It's a new piece of equipment. Only one other one is actually running. I think there's an urgency here that I think is based on the fact that this piece of equipment's in Brattleboro and the owner has to move it, and they'd rather just move it to Bellows Falls than wherever they're located. But so I think the urgency and the rush is a bit troubling. I agree. I don't think it's appropriate to overanalyze the thing, but I'm worried about the cost. I'm happy to hear Shannon say this is a very conservative estimate, because that's not the way I look at it. But again, and I think this assumption that this is Class A, this will always be Class A, whatever it is. I think there's a risk there, but I don't know what it is. So and quite frankly, we've had a lot of increases. In short term, there's going to be increase in costs for our wastewater plant, and because of the cost of this $10,500 a month. I'm concerned about that, and I'm concerned about the financials of the wastewater facility. So, there's a lot of things that are concern to me. The positive is that that something needs to be done to do things differently. I'm pleased to see that Scott sounds to be supportive. I'd like to hear him speak to it before we vote. I'd like to. It sounds like Rob is supportive. I certainly would like to hear his endorsement and the manager's endorsement. So.
Okay, that sounds good.
Start and I'll let Rob get into some of the more operational aspects, because he's the closest to the operation. I think from a municipal standpoint, the thing that I like about this is it gives you flexibility. I don't like dealing with a sole source contractor who has control of my product from trucking to disposal, and he has the only game in town. We started this in 2018 because we couldn't go to Claremont anymore. And so we got locked out of that facility, which led us to this current contract. And now we're down to one disposal location in the state. That's very worrisome. No matter what disposal options that we're presented with, that's going to create costs for us in the future. So I'm concerned, and I agree with Jigs as well, that exposure into the future could cause us problems in our plant if we're locked into that one mechanism. I think this gives us an opportunity to diversify those options. It's a trial. It's a low cost trial. It's not a buy and then feel sad that, oh my God, we made a mistake and now we're stuck with a very expensive piece of equipment and a 20-year payback, and what are we going to do? So I think it's a reasonable risk for us to take. The Class A, I think RMI has taken on that responsibility. I think that regulatory compliance is huge. I agree. That's going to be a part of as we go forward. I think that we'll all have an opportunity to revisit this before we get to the point where we have to renew the contracts and talk about other operations through the budget. And if we don't feel that we're being successful, then I think we'll make sure that we talk about that in our budget process and everybody gets another bite of the apple. So this, this comes back to you with some additional real money, with real dollars and expenditure and real operating, we'll have some experience. So I feel pretty confident that we can, make a go of this. I'll defer to Rob. He's spent more time hands-on with this process, but I think it makes sense for the city, or for the village rather, for those reasons alone.
Rob,
Yeah, my whole fear is we have the one site that we get rid of our sludge. And that has been since we signed the contract. It's just, because the state always wants us to have a backup site, and I've yet to find one. And when this was around, it was like, yeah, this is to me, is the way to go. And the opportunity is, in the wastewater field, a lot of times you don't have the opportunity to do a trial. Yeah, you do a trial for your press, you bring it in for a week, they press it, and then they go away and you bring another one in. It's kind of keep doing that until you're happy, until you get the different presses in. We get to try this for 10 months. And it's just an unheard of type of process or opportunity, I guess, in the wastewater field where you get to actually use something for this long a period of time under a trial period to see if it actually works and what it does and what the true costs are. Because like anybody else, I want to make sure it's going to work and going to fit for Bellows Falls and make sure it's going to do what we want it to do. I think it will, but it's just an opportunity that is, to me, is the best opportunity, and we're not tied to going to the landfill. We actually can go somewhere else and we produce a Class A sludge that actually benefits something else locally, It's not going to just the landfill.
thanks, Rob. Thank you. Scott, as well. I wanted to say I had an opportunity to speak with the manager in Brattleboro today, Peter Elwell, and asked him how they felt about their program that they had. And he said overall they had a good experience. They are not ready yet, of course, to move forward on a larger machine because, as you've already stated, they need a building that will accommodate. So they're not going there yet, but they did appreciate the program and what they got out of it. And like I said, he said it was overall, he had a good experience with them. And again, as Rob has stated, it gives us and Scott, it gives us options. It gives us an opportunity to have a chance to get away from the hauling of sludges we've been doing, which is really, it's something that's running out of time anyway. I don't see how we can continue doing it forever. And we don't have to continue if we don't like the pilot, if Rob's not happy with the product, if we aren't happy with the cost, we could simply not make a purchase down the road. And I believe this actually, you said 10 months, Rob, but I think it says 8 months on here.
Contract says 8, which was my.
It said 8. So it takes us to what? The end of June 2021. So the end of our fiscal year. So I think it's reasonable to move forward. I understand that new technology is frightening. I understand that moving forward from something we've always known is also frightening. But I believe this is an opportunity and one I think is reasonable for us to take. That's what I have to say about it. So anyone else have anything else to say about this before we move on on the motion?
The one question I would ask RMI is that if this doesn't test out as Class A, is there a penalty? I mean, obviously you believe, obviously you're selling it that it's going to be Class A, whatever, it's Class A. I just Class A. So it's the kind of thing was if it doesn't get converted from Class B to Class A, then then what? It's sort of like if it's Class A, then one of my big fears goes away. But what about that?
So thank you. That's a great question. And that's what I run my whole business model around is the difference between sludge, Class B, and Class A. And this technology is designed to be Class A. And it's been, just to be clear, there's not just 2 machines that run. There's over 400 machines that run. These are the first 2 in the Northeast. Okay. So this has been operating for over 20 years. It's largely in Asia and in Eastern Europe. It's now moved into Europe and the United States. And so I've been in this business for going on 30 years, and I have been looking for that magic black box that turns sludge into A, and I found it. And I am so excited. I mean, this is really, for me, an industry changer, because if you can take a wet, raw sludge and in less than 4 hours, put out a nice dry pellet that meets the requirements for general distribution, that is a home run. And for me, as a small business owner, you know, I've staked my business on this. I mean, I've got $1 million tied up in this, and I bought this machine because I believe in it. And I knew I had to put a couple of machines on the ground so that people can see that they work. So I guess all I can tell you is I'm behind this 100%. My business is, it's where we're going. My vice president is here, Marty Reese. You could try.
I didn't expect to speak, but I think the direct answer to your question, the part that you have to remember is that you're getting an 80% reduction in of waste itself, of weight. So the reason why some things might not, why you have to work with this and make adjustments to get to this Class A line, the part that you don't have a penalty for is you have 80% less to take to your Casella contract if it didn't make it. And the reason why you say the blame for not making Class A, it's really a blameless process. It's a matter of, is the sludge too wet, so you have to slow the belts down, so you have to raise the temperature. You're running an oven here, or a food dehydrator or something. So you have to make adjustments as you go to make that happen. And the machine will monitor this and give you the feedback to let you know that, yes, you've made Class A, which makes Sheila very happy. Of course, it also makes me happy being part of her business. But it also, in the worst case scenario, you've still got your reduction in weight, that if it didn't make Class A for, let's say, some other reason, heavy metals or whatever that comes through, you have so much less to get rid of. And the other thing that I want to add, when you talked about the size of the bags, in that I did order the first bags for Brattleboro, they're 36 by 36 inches. They're basically the size of a pallet. So it's 600 pounds in weight to lift it up, but it's basically a cube that sits on a
3 by 3.
pallet. So that's all I really want to add. I apologize, and thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. So in other words, if worse comes to worse, we have to haul 20% of what we currently haul.
Right. That would be the
But that's not in the
worst,
numbers.
worst case scenario, and that's not in the numbers.
That's not in the numbers.
Yeah, there is, so we anticipate we would not use any of the 6,000 for removal, for the sludge removal. So it may go slightly over budget. Worst case scenario, saying that absolutely every single batch that we do, we need to remove at 20%. We might slightly go over the 6,000, but we do have something in the budget for if that were to happen with some of the batches.
I thought, Shannon, I thought that they said that the 6,000 was to have RMI certify our product type of thing. That there was zero trick.
If they choose to do that, if Rob does all of our other testing and procurement up at the sewer plant, so the idea would be that he would be doing it.
Oh, going forward, but during the pilot program, the RMI does it.
Correct.
Yes, yes, RMA will be doing it. So
That's
so
the
that was
part
getting
of
us
the
to A.
right. That's part of the contract, though, for the lease.
Right, exactly. So they get us to A, which might mean zero hauling, or because they'll be taking it out if it's Class A, right? And if it's not Class A, are you still hauling it, or are we paying to haul it after that point?
So during this pilot, RMI will handle all of it,
All of it.
whether it's
Okay.
A, B, or sludge.
Okay.
We will make it work.
So no hauling for us during the 8-month period.
That's true. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Okay.
but there's very little of any hauling afterwards.
Right, but that's what we'll know when we see if we can get to A, right?
Mhm.
Which you will decide during the pilot whether
Right.
you want to continue. And if you say, Sheila, that was nice, June 30th, please pack your bags and go home, that's fine. then you'll go back to whatever Casella is charging you
Right.
and hope for the best.
Thank you. Oh, Stefan, I think you had something.
Yeah, where is this machine manufactured? What country?
In China.
China.
Where?
In China.
Okay.
In Guangzhou.
And as far as, I know you mentioned that you take care if it breaks down or whatever, but do you stock the parts at your facility in New Hampshire of whatever may break down?
Yeah, so the machine comes with spare parts for all the essential components. And then we have a spare belt, and we have actually just begun the process of becoming a warehouse or a storage house for distribution in the Northeast
Okay.
for spare parts. But it's growing. It's not something that is, we're not a Walmart at this point.
Anything else, Stefan?
No, we're good.
Okay. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Yes,
I
Wade?
have one last question, probably for Rob or, so if this passes, when we move forward with it, when do you anticipate like the last load going to Casella?
I have a dumpster moving tomorrow, so I'll probably fill that dumpster and then we'll start the process of, now it becomes a coordination of when that dryer comes up and we start doing install. It's gonna take some time to move it. The riggers have gotta move it in, you gotta move the dumpster out, so.
Right.
I anticipate one more load going to landfill
After tomorrow?
after tomorrow.
Okay.
And I have one load beyond that projected just in case.
Okay. Thanks, Shannon.
And I would say to you, as the owner of this company, if you sign this contract, you will only do one more load with Casella, and we will take care of you after that. So you wouldn't have to go with another load up there if we
Okay.
have issues with movement. But that's about as far as we can go, because we're now getting into, there was 9 inches of snow after we last met up
Yeah.
our neck of the woods. And so you know what it's like to get down to the treatment plant, and these guys, the riggers have helped you before. They brought down a lot of the solar stuff. And they told us, Sheila, if you're getting any much further into, November snow time, we're not gonna guarantee delivery.
Okay. All right, are we ready to move on the motion? I believe the motion was to assign for the municipal manager to sign the contract for the pilot program. Is that correct? And it has been seconded. So keeping that in mind, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any nays? None. You have your contract. All right. And I believe you must have the original, Scott. So
Thank you very much.
awesome.
Thank you.
Moving into the future. All right. Our next item on the agenda is the police update. I believe Chief Bemis is still here. Hello. Yeah, you'll need a microphone over there, I guess. Yep. Thank you. Yeah, turning our heads away from these microphones, they're not being able to pick it up. Everyone got to sign these, I'm assuming? Yeah, okay. Okay. Is that one not working? Just, oh, yeah, it's on, huh, but it's not on.
The green light's on, but the red light's off.
Oh, yeah, it's flipping off and on. Yeah, so technology glitch. Speak into it, see if he can hear you.
Hello.
It
Yeah, it's
just
still
came on.
working. Okay. Huh, interesting. Okay, go ahead.
All right. After the last meeting with the cameras, we received the contract for the Axon cameras, and that's been signed. We're working on getting the cameras installed, and they're working on when to get the cameras to us and the vehicles to them to be installed. The contract came out. They changed it as you'd asked for even fees each year of the 5-year contract, and that was done. That we are dealing with, as Scott said, the parking issues on the streets for November. We are handing out the stickers. If you drive around town, you can probably see some of those. We're working with the other agencies or the fire department, at least on the Halloween and what's going on with that. The parade issue, we would discuss that, but there may be 2 parades on Saturday. The field hockey team has to play on Wednesday. If they win that game, then they go on to a championship game on Saturday. So there may be actually 2 parades coming through that. And we've had some discussions about the parades and how to make them a little bit safer than they have been in the past. And hopefully we can resolve that. We have come up with a different schedule that the officers are working, hopefully to cut down the overtime on the coverage issues with some open shifts that we had. And I believe that that will certainly cut down our overtime some. We are doing some training. We've had classes last week, this week, and we're doing some more later this week for our annual training, the requirements that we have to do with that. And that actually will add some overtime, but that's required that there's not much that we can do about that. So
The parade, so are they both scheduled for the same time or one overlapping the other? What
Well,
do you anticipate?
we never really know. It's when they get back to the Sonics exit 6 area. So they give us an estimate after the games and on their way back. So they fluctuate in times from 4 to 5:30, something like that. Thankfully, it'll still be light out, I think, for all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. The 2 things we asked them to do is to follow COVID protocols. It's a little bit, I know everybody's excited, but, try to be as reasonable as you can with your masks and social distancing. And the other is not to ride open air in the trucks so that we don't have any unfortunate problems if somebody slips or falls or just, gets overexcited and ends up taking a spill. Nobody wants that, to turn a fun event into something that's a problem. So those are the things that we just caution them about.
The other thing is because it's Halloween is, a lot of the little kids go out fairly early.
Yeah, they do.
I don't know what, whether it's 5 o'clock or even before 5 o'clock, but that would be the one concern I have is the overlap of a parade with the trick-or-treaters.
Yeah, we've thought about that. Hopefully it'll be before the trick-or-treaters, although we are not really in charge of when they get back or how they get, just the exact time of it. But there will be enough lights, enough trucks, enough sirens, certainly so that people will know that. And hopefully the small children will be off to the sides. And
Well, that's another opportunity for us having it here on camera and Fact TV rerunning it on Facebook and that sort of thing, and on their own stations, Comcast stations, the opportunity for people to see that. So people feel safe about bringing their children out for trick or treat, whether it's a long or a short time, and being careful about a possible parade. That's why I asked you if you knew what times they would be. So
Yeah.
I understand the flexibility.
And the other thing, we have it on Facebook and stuff like that, but we hope that anybody that's going to give out candy or participate in it looks at the CDC recommendations, how to do it, to lay it out on a table. I'm not going to go through all of that, but certainly we want to make it safe and for the children and for everybody. So
Thank you. Was that it for the updates right now?
I believe that'll be it.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is a conversation about the encryption process. I guess that's for you too. I know that sitting at this table for some years, that issue has come up time and time again. And I just, in the light of transparency, I just don't see a purpose for using encryption or keeping it going at this point. So, and it has been mentioned by other board members beside myself over the years, why we got it up in the first place. I know it was grant money, that was the origination, but why we continue to use it and citizens complain. So if you have a good argument for why we keep it, I'd like to know, Chief Bemis.
A little bit of history, and then I'll let the chief talk about the operational issues. I think one of the things, and maybe Bellows Falls might have been a little early in the game, and maybe that's part of the frustration maybe of the public. But statewide, the digital platform that you're on with encryption is what the state is trying to centralize to since September 11th, since the national response to the interoperability and the communications problems at 9/11. So they developed a policy. Vermont signed on. There's an entire host of statewide plans and statewide commissions and all sorts of people involved pushing to get to this basic digital platform. Right now, it's supposed to be up and operational across Vermont by 2022 is their current target date. And so one of the things that I think we have to be sensitive to is that this new broadband and digital network is going to be basically the standard now for communications across all platforms, not just police, where it's going to be state police, it's going to be the Homeland Security folks, it's going to be EMS. So everybody's going to have that basic digital platform. And I think probably the ability of folks with scanners and other current technology just won't work in that digital environment. So that's really where Vermont's headed. Now the encryption is a separate piece to that, and how that works with this new digital layout is not really clear. I don't have enough information to give you the technical aspects of that. We can certainly talk to some of our folks that have that background and try to get you some more detailed information on that. But just from a statewide standpoint, that seems to be where the entire state is going in terms of public safety and communications. So that's a little bit of just sort of the current events with that. And I'll let Chief Bemis maybe fill in some other gaps with that.
Well, it is a state-of-the-art system. When we received it, we received a grant. The grant was initially thought of as for the cameras around the village. That was not wanted by the public or the board at the time, and it was turned down. And the chief at the time, Keith Clark, decided not to pursue that because of public did not want the cameras. It then we took the grant for the digital radio. The digital radio is still pretty much a state-of-the-art radio system, even all these years on. It is clearer to listen to. It is better you can communicate over longer distances with it. And like I say, it is a state-of-the-art system. We were probably about the first in Vermont to have one. And as the manager said, this is what other agencies are going to go to. I don't know. I have looked to see if I had any paperwork at my office that if we discontinued that, would we then have to pay back the grant to the federal government? I'm not sure. I can't find the paperwork on that as to whether we would have to or not. But then if we come to 2022, would we have to then buy the system again for what was over $100,000, I believe, back at the time it was installed? I don't have even a guess as to how much putting this system in would be. The other agencies can talk to us, do talk to us on it. We can switch to the analog to talk to them. But like I say, this is really the state-of-the-art system that we've been lucky enough to have for a number of years.
Chief, one of the issues that maybe we should bring to the trustees' attention is, and the issue of transparency is, how do we record and maintain the communications? Even though it's a digital format, you still do retain it and record it.
Yes.
And maybe you can give a little background on that, which might help some folks feel a little better about how that's being handled.
Yeah, for transparency's sake, you can't listen to the digital on a regular scanner that you bought at Radio Shack. But all of the transmissions are recorded. We can listen to them if we need to hear what happened. Certainly for discovery, for cases that go to court, we often provide all of the radio traffic involved in an incident that goes to court. It is all there. It has been there for years, and it will be continued to be there. If it were an analog system, I believe we would have to get some different recording equipment to be able to continue to record. And I have not looked into that, what it would be or what the price would be on that to get the recordings for the analog systems.
Any other trustees? Did you have something? Wait, I saw you turn.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to understand this a little better, because I'm not an expert at it, but so it's a digital system,
Yes.
but I thought that's still separate from the encryption piece of it. Is that correct?
I believe the digital and the encryption go together in that, that if you had a digital scanner, you could hear what we say now.
Okay, that was kind of what my next question was.
Yes.
So it's not really, so it's a digital platform that basically most of us can't hear any longer because
That's correct.
Using
we haven't
analog,
upgraded
yeah.
to a digital scanner.
Yes. But if you had the scanner, you could hear us.
Okay.
So to say it's
people update your
encrypted,
equipment.
yeah, to say the encrypted, we talk about encrypted, but there is not the encryption program like a analog system you could put on one that where you turned on the scanner, you'd hear just garble and
Right,
stuff
and
like
I thought, quite honestly, me being one of several people, I thought that's what it was.
Yeah, me too.
That we were still on analog, but it had been encrypted, so nobody
No.
could hear it.
No, it's digital.
It's okay.
And people talk the encrypted, but it's because it's digital that you can't
Okay,
hear it.
that makes sense. I was curious. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Did anyone else have anything else on the system? Okay. I guess.
Madam President,
Yes, Mr. Mitchell?
I have a digital scanner. What they have is encryption. There are very few police departments that totally encrypt all their transmissions. It's a very simple thing to do, to flip the switch, and then people can hear what's going on in this village. We were at a loss. If there was a major shootout or something in this village, we would have no way of knowing what's going on in this village. Now, in the past, there have been high-speed pursuits when then Interim Chief Dunphy turned off the encryption on the new toy, as I call it, so that we could hear the high-speed pursuit going on. He did it in the interest of public safety. He didn't want somebody being run over. We've had a lot of high-speed pursuits. What we also don't have, as far as encryption, we have 42 drug houses in this village that nothing is being done to address. 3 of them right in a school zone. That's my concern. You know, if you got a secret, well then clean up the drug problem in this town. It has been going on for 14 long years. And Sergeant Dave Bemis, along with the previous administration, owns that problem.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Remember, you only get a minute and you've gone over it.
All right.
So I appreciate that. Thank you very much for
Thank
your
you.
input. All right. Next item on the agenda is to discuss the trustees' expectations of the police department. I believe Mr. McAuliffe had brought this up as we have a new chief, and he thought it would be appropriate to have a certain amount of expectations that we would have and make them clear. So I'm assuming you would like to go first.
I'd be happy. I'd be happy to go first. I think in going through the interview process and the search for a police chief, et cetera, we included a number of people, other people in the village, residents, et cetera. And I think it's one of the things that was clear to me was that there hadn't been a forum whereby the community and particularly this board to start with communicated to the police department what their expectations are. And I think that I would hope that tonight we'll start this process and that the five of us will have an opportunity to share some thoughts with the chief. I know for me, I'm intrigued with particularly in this village, with the idea of, or the concept of community policing. To me, I don't know if I could define that, Chief, but certainly, community policing it means that the police department is visible in the village, that people, have a general idea of who the police staff is. I know when I met you 4 months ago, after when you became the interim, I'm embarrassed to say that's the first time I ever saw you. And I learned later that you worked nights, so that's a good reason, because I'm not usually out at night. And
Everybody that's up at 3 a.m. knew me.
Yeah. So anyway, but I think clearly having the community and this board have a better understanding of your view of community policing and what you want to accomplish, there would be my first comment. My second comment is, and a lot of this was discussed in the interview process and with the search committee, and that is having the community have a better understanding of the drug problem in the village and what the police department's role is in that, in dealing with that problem, and is there or are there other initiatives that that this board or other committees within the village should be doing to improve or correct the drug problem? It's not just a police problem. And I know in the past we've talked about communication with landlords and things like that. Clearly, Jimmy just mentioned 42 drug houses in the village, and there's people that seem to know a number of addresses where drugs are distributed. So I think I would like to see our village succeed in making progress against the drug distribution in this village. And I think I would like the police to be a part of that and help us to understand what other things we need to do in order to deal more effectively with this drug problem. I think the third thing that a lot of us hear a lot about is responding to having our cruisers at Allen Brothers or in the village of Walpole, et cetera. We need to have a better idea of what the relationship is with Walpole. I believe we do have some kind of an informal relationship with Walpole that's a mutual aid type of thing. And obviously, I think the chief is in the best position of anybody to evaluate that program. And because clearly, this is the Bellows Falls Police Department, and we want the resources devoted to our village, and not to provide traffic problems or accidental problems in Rockingham or in Walpole or whatever. So I think getting a better understanding of the commitment to the village and also a better understanding and evaluation of this mutual aid situation we have with Walpole would be helpful. So those are some of my thoughts
Okay.
at this point.
Jeff, did you have anything?
First, I would just like to thank the police department, and I think they're in an unenviable position, given some of the history of certainly needing to rebuild trust in the community and regain some confidence from all of us. And I believe it can be done if we are getting in front of people. So I would like to encourage more public outreach, interacting with families and business owners, teachers, coaches, social service employees, landlords, the trustees, select board. And I think that I'm encouraged to see that there's I guess a new community action team that has developed. I know that Alex Stradling spoke a few meetings back about wanting to have a community forum, and I hope that if that hasn't, if those two parties haven't gotten together yet, I think it sounds like an invitation. So I would like to see that, and I have faith that things are moving in the right direction. I have heard since Chief Bemis has taken the official role as the chief that morale has improved. I would like to hear more of that from the other officers and see that it shows within our community, and not be afraid to be out among all of us. We welcome you, and that's what we want. So not in your cars, but engaging, not just on Main Street, on the side streets as well.
Wade, did you have something?
I have a whole list, but you already hit on half of them, so.
No, that's a good thing. I would hope that we all have some mutual ones.
Yeah, so, no, I think it's a good opportunity to try to point out some things and hopefully move forward, which I agree with Jeff. I think things are already beginning to do that. It takes baby steps, but we'll get there. Yeah, drug enforcement, I'm just gonna go down my list. Drug enforcement initiatives, I actually had that for looking at other ways other than just things that we've done in the past. Some level of more interaction with the citizens from all the officers. The next thing I had was something I mentioned a while back, that I think it'd be a good opportunity to, every meeting have, until we get through all of them, have one come in and spend 5 minutes at a trustees meeting. And so everybody, we can meet them and the public can meet them. Improve customer service, community policing, better and more visibility throughout the public. Some of these overlap, obviously. And from a safety standpoint, some type of a policy on officers wearing high visibility vests when they're outside of the cruisers. That's my pet peeve. So that's kind of an offshoot of that, but might as
Safety
well.
vests, right. And you do have those, I know. I've seen you in a yellow vest before.
But it's not uncommon to see, and I get the fact that there's certain times in the nature of their business, they can't do that. But for every one of them times, there's a handful of times where they should be and they're not, or at least sometimes they're not.
We certainly bought the vest. We try and get them on. We have them in every car. Sometimes you jump out in the middle of the road, out of your car to do something. You don't grab the vest. But yes, we try and wear the vest. I try and instill that into them as well. Absolutely, they need to wear the vest. It's the law.
Right.
It's just common sense, and for their safety, for the motor and public safety. If somebody.
Yeah, so them are my things. Certainly, some of them overlap, but I think good things to add to the list.
Stephen, did you have anything?
Sure. I think community policing is a good initiative. I think also dealing with the drug problem, because some of us do know the addresses and we see the activity. I think the other thing is, and I've done it myself, visibility is key. A lot of the complaints that I hear are we never see the police. And back when I did some of that, you could hit every street in the village within about an hour and 10 minutes. So I think that ought to be a goal of they try to visit every street. Even that includes going out through Gageville, coming in the backside by Oak Cemetery. So I think that's important. But also there seems to be a lapse, and I know COVID's been part of it, as far as motor vehicle violations. I mean, I can go to work in the morning, I see people blow stop signs, blow red lights. I follow the speeds up through some of the streets. They're way over the speed limit. I think we need to get back into some regular, I wouldn't say routine because nothing ever is in that field, but motor vehicle enforcement.
We did have a lull during the lockdowns in motor vehicle enforcement. I can assure you that we're back out there. A lot of cars are being stopped. DUIs are being arrested. We're not getting everyone, but we are certainly back out there stopping vehicles. That is.
And I'll finalize on something that my colleague had mentioned. It's customer service and follow-up. One of the other complaints is, we called, but we never heard anything and we never saw anybody. I think, everybody would like to see somebody in person, but if somebody cannot make it to a complaint or a villager's issue, I think, at least at the very least, a phone call.
I agree with that.
And I know you brought something up about moving forward on that, about checking every so often on logs and having someone call back on cases.
Yes.
To see what people's response was on follow-up. So seeing some of that and hearing positive response from citizens would be great. So let's see. I think we probably covered just about everything. I know that neighborhood watches have been brought up over the years. They were always poo-pooed by the previous chief. However, I think that's part of the plan. That's part of the overall an overall vision of having citizens involved in watching, see something, say something. But to cover that, the second part of that is, as an expectation, is we need more clarity on how crime is stopped. Citizens need to understand when they make a citizens report and they're willing to sign on that, why neighborhoods still continue to experience repeated episodes of chaos without relief. They need to understand why, because otherwise they think that our policing isn't working, and they become apathetic. So they go, why call? No one ever takes care of it. The problem's still there. The drug dealing still going on in my neighborhood. That's part of my understanding of what transparency should be. People need to understand what we can expect from our police department and how long these kinds of things take, and not become frustrated, because as we're all aware, as citizens come up and talk to us or things we've seen ourselves, there's a lot of frustration with that. So increased presence is important. I think that at least during the weekdays, we should have more foot patrols as part of shifts to deter more crime through visibility, and also to ensure that law-abiding citizens see the availability of our policing staff, that they have someone they can speak to if they have a problem. I'd also, as the trustees, would like to address the intermunicipal agreement that we have with the town of Rockingham, which has been out for several years and really needs to go. It's something that has never been worked effectively. It was never logged appropriately. We've never seen the dollars and cents to make sure if it works. And I think that's something we need to address, but that's a policy that would come back to the table. And yes, I've repeatedly asked Alex Stradlane to see if he can get some people together to create a citizen committee or citizen group, so they can address issues and bring problems / with solutions or things like that to the table, so that we can get them addressed with the police department, so that they can interact and work some things out and help the community. So I think what I would like to do from this point forward, because we're just talking them all, I would like to ask that my trustees all send all of their requests, all their ideas to me. I'll put them all together in a list and I'll send them off to Chief Bemis. So we have something in writing. Does that sound good? All right. And that way we do the legwork and don't put it off on the executive assistant you don't have yet. So
I would appreciate that.
What's that?
I would appreciate
Okay.
having
Yeah,
all of them
that makes it
listed.
easier than trying to remember everything we just said.
That's great. Also, just as a follow-up to some of your other concerns, the chief and I talked about, we do have a policies manual. It's a little out of date. There's some things obviously that state law has changed, like use of force, and some things that are fairly recent. So we're going to be updating that. We're going to bring that through trustees so that everyone can see, understand. It's something that the department, trains to, and we use best practices from the Vermont, League of Cities and Towns. So we're going to put that back together. This one, most of the policies were reviewed last in great detail about 2013. So we need to do some updating. We'll get that up to date and bring that along. And I think that goes a long way to the transparency questions, because it really it deals with a lot of the operational, the ways and the right ways that the police department is going to operate. So I think we'll use that as a tool, and then everybody's on the same page. We all understand what our standards are. And then I think it's up to the chief and myself to make sure that we meet the standard. That's really the goal.
All right, thank you, Chief Bemis.
All right.
And
Thank you all.
I don't know,
Thank
you might
you.
not need to, maybe you can't leave, because the next item on the agenda is 1 Center Street update. And we all saw the material that that Shannon sent us on what they're doing with that. So I'm not sure if there's anything else to add, or if Sean
No,
McGinnis
we're-
is here and.
We're progressing
Yeah.
with the enforcement activity there, and hopefully we'll see some compliance. We also have some utilities that are in arrears, and I've been in touch with those folks about that. We're going to talk on Monday, so hopefully we'll get some progress on some of these. If not, then we'll continue to work towards compliance. That's the goal.
And also, that would be a property, I would assume, that would come up to tax sale if we ever get finalized on that, which we haven't, so,
Yes.
because it has tax meters as well. Okay, anything else? Anyone have anything else to say about 1 Center Street?
There is from some of the tickets that Sean issued and that I issued, there are going to be hearings in December. I received that notification. I don't know the date yet, but there are going to be hearings on the nuisance ordinance and on the state dumping violations.
Will they
that
be
we
heard
issued.
here or somewhere else?
They will be, I believe there'll be call-in hearings. The hearing officer will be there. They will call in, we will call in. That's how they have been handled since COVID started. But just to let you know, at least that small part of it is something new that's moving forward with that. So.
Great. Thank you. Anything further? Did you have anything to add, Sean?
I think it pretty much covers it.
We all satisfied? Good.
Yep.
Okay, we'll move forward then. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right, number 4 on our agenda is to change of authorization representative or it's probably authorized representative for the water infrastructure financing programs.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, so would you read the motion out, please?
If you hand it to me, I will.
Oh, sure. Oh, you got one? Okay.
Okay, I make the motion to authorize Scott Pickup to act as an authorized representative of the applicant for the purpose of furnishing to the state of Vermont such information, data, and documents pertaining to the above noted projects, as well as required and otherwise to act as the authorized representative of the applicant in connection with the project.
Okay, I need a second? Okay, is there any further discussion? And who signs that? That's for him to sign, right? Is that correct, Shannon? Who's signing this change?
Let me
We've
look
heard-
at the form really quick. Hold on.
Okay. Yes, I want to make sure that the motion includes whose signature
I
on
would
that
think it'd
document.
either be you or Scott.
It's probably signed by Scott.
It's actually each of the board members.
Okay, who has the original? So we can't sign it if we don't have it.
Did you print out your packet, Deb, or no?
I did not print out
I didn't either.
I didn't see the document to sign
Yeah.
in
They
it.
were the last 2 pages.
Oh, crap.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Oh,
That's
pardon my
okay.
French.
Stefan might have it.
Hold on, I don't know if we printed it all.
Hold on, Steph's gonna
Yeah.
look.
Change of authorization, affirmative, I think
Okay, you have 2 pages, one's for Shannon and one's for Scott. Okay, so we have a copy here. We can all sign it. Okay.
Thank you, Stefan.
Oh, see,
What a
there is a
guy.
purpose for having a hard copy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, any further discussion on this need? Okay, all right, ready? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and Stefan will pass it around.
Sure. I'll go ahead
And B, we have another motion that has to do with Shannon, a change of authorization. Who'd like to read that one?
Yep.
Okay, here's that one going around. I
Thank
think
you.
yours is the top left, if you would, please.
Oh, chair, yeah,
Ready to proceed?
go ahead.
I make the motion to authorize Shannon Burbella to act as an authorized representative of the applicant for the purpose of furnishing to the state of Vermont such information, data, and documents pertaining to the above noted projects as may be required and otherwise to act as the authorized representative of the applicant in connection with the project.
Seconded.
All right. It's been moved and seconded, and we now realize we have a copy we can sign, and I'm assuming that's, everybody signs that too, Stefan?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All those in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is passed. Okay, and Stefan will pass that one along. Wow, those are swift. Okay. Thank God we had a copy. Review agenda items for next meeting, November 9th. Do we have anything at this point? We have some time, so. Anyone, no one has anything at this point? Okay. All right, there you go. There's that. Is there anything on here that we would want to consider that needs to go on? I don't know.
I will have year-to-date financials because that'll be the first
Yep,
meeting of the month.
Of course. Thank you, Shannon.
Yeah, I
Can't think
I
of-
don't know if anybody saw the overtime report, but that
Yep.
continues to distress me.
Mhm.
I saw it.
Which part?
the-
Which department?
Well, the wastewater and the police. And Chief just said that this new schedule hopefully is going to cut back on the overtime.
Certificate.
Obviously the keeping us on budget is, Shannon has assured us at least through 2 months or 3 months, I guess, that we're still okay. But again, I think that's of note, and I'll be happy to see progress or have Scott address it at a later meeting or something.
Right. Well, just to give you an update, on the after hours alarms with our SCADA system and the alarms at the plant, the contract software vendor will be on site on the 30th. And so we're hoping
good.
that he will be able to then rectify whatever this conflict is that's continuing to, add to those call-in overtimes, which is frustrating, becoming very frustrating. So I'm hoping that we'll have something to report definitively and cut that out after he's done. And then the schedule we'll monitor, and I'll get back to you as we implement, and we'll see if that eliminates some of the police
Oh,
overtime that
scheduling changes, right.
you were discussing as well. So
Right.
we will
And this-
definitely,
And they're still looking for a 6th officer, right?
we'll keep an eye on that, on both, and get back to you on that.
Okay, that's good. Wait, did you
No,
have
I
something?
was just gonna follow up on the status of the 6th officer, but that's something we can get later on next time around.
Well, it hasn't been hired yet, correct? No. So guess hopefully we'll know when actually it happens. All right, so and the financials. So at this point, let me know if there's something you guys want on the agenda, and we'll go through the motions on that, and get ready for our next meeting, which will be November, what did I just say, 8th? 9th, sorry, need my glasses. Review agenda items for the joint board meeting. That's a ways away, and we don't really have anything right now, and we're good, okay with that.
Well, I guess the one issue you did bring up tonight is the IMA for police services with
Yep.
the town. So I
Yep.
suppose we'll circulate that.
That's
and
definitely worth
have
noting.
everybody at least get their hands on it, take a look at it, and then
Again,
Yeah.
go
review
forward
it.
from
yeah.
there.
I don't believe it's necessarily active. I don't even know if the police are performing the duty. But since it was never rolled out the way it was anticipated, it seems we either need to rehash it or it's violated, so it's out. So we'll
Okay.
have to look at it. Okay, review and approve orders, bills, and warrants.
Motion to approve the orders, bills, and warrants circulated here tonight.
Need a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion on that? All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, those are finished. And, would you pass these to Scott, since I'm assuming you're gonna go
Sure.
back upstairs, drop stuff off? Those are for Shannon. Other business. Stefan,
Yep, just want to cheer on the track and field. Hopefully they'll be successful again.
and there will be a parade?
And hopefully there'll be a parade. And also just a reminder for Halloween that CDC guidelines are basically followed and that we have a safe and happy event without any problems.
Right.
That is all.
Jigs.
Just glad to have Scott on board and welcome again to Bellows Falls. And I echo Stefan's comments because we really have to take this Saturday very seriously, and hope everybody will be safe.
Jeff,
Nothing to
nothing?
add.
Wait,
Two things. Again, I think this is our first meeting
Yes.
with Scott, right? So yeah,
our
You
first
did
real,
attend-
first
you
real
did
meeting.
attend our last meeting.
right. But first, yeah,
Yeah.
first, yeah. So yeah, just kind of echo what you said there. The only other thing I was just going to mention that there was a house fire in Rockingham today, and wanted to
Heard
thank
that.
Bellows Falls Fire for responding, as well as the other area mutual aid departments to take care of that earlier today.
It was a total loss. Was that correct? That's what I heard.
Well, depends who you ask, but
Okay.
they weren't good. Put
Yeah.
it that
Bad
way.
enough, yeah.
Sorry. Was that everyone was okay though? No one was injured?
Nobody got hurt. They were
That's
out of the house, and no animals were lost. Just the building and the contents.
Okay. That's too bad. Okay. Scott, did you have anything else? Yes. Yeah, we're gonna do that. And I would just like to say, please make sure to go check the guidelines are on for Halloween on Saturday or on the website for rockinghamvt.org or you can still use the old address rockbf.org to get in. They're on there, also on the Facebook pages of the police department and fire department. There's a lot of information from the CDC. It's pretty simple and pretty straightforward and stuff we've been doing for months, pretty much. I've already got signs up at my house on tiki torches letting people know that I'm going to safely be putting a table of candy out so kids can come, because I'd like to see children show up, have some fun. Even some of the teenagers still have some old-fashioned fun for a couple of hours on a Halloween night. So I would like everyone to be safe, and particularly be aware that there may be a parade or two, so stay out of the street and make sure that you keep your kids close, and put your masks on and do everything to keep yourself safe and have a little fun. I think that's it. I want to again welcome Scott here
Cool.
to what seems to be a relatively quiet meeting. And now we need to have an executive session, and it's on contracts. So
All right,
we would need to do two
Sure.
motions. It's number 7.
number 7. Okay, I make the motion that we enter into a executive session where premature general knowledge may clearly place the municipality at a substantial disadvantage,
I want to invite.
and to invite Scott Pickup into that executive session.
Do we need Shannon or no for this? Probably not. Okay, so just Scott. Okay.
Reference contracts.
I need a
I'll
second.
second that.
All right, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, now the second motion, please.
Okay, I move that the board enter into the executive session to discuss contract under provisions of Title I, Section 313A1 of the Vermont statutes.
Need a second? Okay. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are headed into executive session. Thank you, folks. Have a great week. We'll see you in 2 weeks.